Welcome back to The True Analyst. Today we are diving deep into a structural phenomenon that defines our current era. It's what we call the Great Indian Paradox. We are continuously told that the country's macroeconomics are rock solid, yet millions of middle-class homes are feeling an intensifying financial squeeze. Why is this happening, and how can both realities coexist? Let's look at the data. To understand the mechanics, let's start with a scene playing out in the retail aisles.
Papa, why can't we buy the bigger chocolate today?
Next time.
Now, let's be entirely clear. This decision was never truly about the chocolate bar. It is about the math running through that father's head. It's the reality of the electricity bill due tomorrow, the school fees due next week, and the home loan EMI auto-debiting at the end of the month. It leaves the household wallet with absolutely zero breathing room for a single unbudgeted expense. This brings us to the core contradiction. How can these two conflicting stories be true at the exact same time? On one side, you have the headline story. It is a narrative built on concrete macro data, massive new expressways, world-class modern airports, a cash-free digital payments ecosystem breaking global records, all-time high foreign investment inflows, soaring stock market indices, and record-breaking corporate earnings. But step away from the financial news and look at the dining table story. Here, the economic reality is tracked in a handwritten diary of monthly expenses anchored to a fixed salary slip that arrives on the first of the month. Once you cross off the non-negotiables, rent, groceries, fuel, medicines, and fees, you are left with a quiet, persistent anxiety about what is actually left over. The fundamental question at this table isn't about GDP, it's what survives after survival. To analyze this objectively, we need a framework that reconciles both perspectives. Think of it as looking at the nation through two entirely different cameras. Camera 1 is the macro view. Positioned high above the country, it captures mega projects, tech startups, industrial corridors, and surging digital transaction volumes. This is the camera that global investors, rating agencies, and markets watch. Camera 2 is the dining table view. It is pointed directly at a family's table at 9 p.m. It sees a worn calculator, rising utility bills, and fixed wages. The crucial takeaway here is that neither camera is lying. They simply capture two fundamentally different parts of the very same economic reality. Let's break this down with Lesson 1. What is a 100 rupee note actually worth? We have to separate two critical economic definitions. The nominal value of this note is exactly 100 rupees. The number printed on the paper is fixed and never changes. But its real value is an entirely different story. Real value dictates what that exact same note can actually buy. And right now, it is purchasing a shrinking basket of everyday goods year after year. This erosion is driven by inflation, which operates as a silent, unlegislated tax. It never arrives with a warning siren. It extracts wealth incrementally, one ordinary interaction at a time. You experience it as a consistently higher vegetable market bill at the end of the week. You feel it when you get fewer liters of fuel for the exact same cash at the pump. It hits you in the form of a rising monthly electricity tariff and the quiet annual hikes in school registration fees. This leads directly to what economists call the pay rise illusion. Imagine you receive an annual increment of 6%. On paper, your nominal income growth goes up by 6%, which feels like a moment for celebration. But if the baseline cost of your essential expenses also rises by that exact same 6%, your real income growth is flat at 0%. Your material well-being hasn't moved an inch. You're working just as hard, but functionally standing completely still. This is why identical salaries can feel completely different from one home to another. Consider two households earning the exact same monthly income. Household A resides in an inherited family apartment with zero rental debt. That same income stretches comfortably across the month, allowing for savings and disposable choices. Now, look at Household B. They are navigating a legacy home loan, rising urban rent, and aging parents who require regular medical care. Suddenly, that exact same income feels intensely squeezed. The core truth of household economics is clear. The ultimate determinant of financial peace isn't the money coming in, it's the velocity at which it is forced to leave. Let's look at the primary metrics celebrated in the news. Gross domestic product, or GDP. When we hear that the national pie is expanding at 7% to 8% annually, it is an undeniable fact. It represents one of the fastest growth rates in the world. But remember this fundamental limitation. GDP tells us the absolute size of the pie. It tells us nothing about how that pie is sliced. It remains completely silent on who is actually receiving a larger share and who is left with a smaller fraction. This brings us to our central structural diagnosis: K-shaped growth. Our economic trajectory is moving along two completely divergent arms. The upper arm represents large corporations, tech professionals, equity investors, and high-skill segments. They are experiencing rising incomes, expanding capital wealth, and premium consumption capabilities. Conversely, the lower arm holds the middle, lower middle, and informal workforce. For this massive segment of the population, real wages are flat or actively shrinking once fully adjusted for the modern cost of living. To see why the headline numbers look so clean, we must understand why statistical averages lie. Consider a simple analogy of three individuals. If one person sits down and eats 2 complete meals, they are comfortable and well-fed. If another person next to them eats absolutely nothing, they are facing malnutrition. Yet, if you run the statistical average of these individuals, the data states they had exactly 1 meal each. This is the number everyone quotes in macroeconomic reports, and it is the exact number that hides the underlying disparity. This disparity is the direct result of a structural shift toward capital-intensive growth. Our economy is formed into 3 distinct layers. At the top is the elite tier: software, advanced finance, and corporate law. It offers exceptionally high pay, but features a very narrow employment reach. Beneath it sits the squeezed middle, stable manufacturing, and traditional administrative roles that are facing intense downward pressure from automation and corporate restructuring. At the base is the informal and gig sector, housing the vast majority of the Indian workforce, characterized by zero contractual security, minimal benefits, and no structural protection against inflation. Where is the household income quietly disappearing? It is being consumed by an unavoidable expense cascade. Over a 5-year tracking period, the cost of private education and healthcare surged by a massive 80%. While average middle-tier wages grew by just 28%, these are not discretionary expenses. A parent cannot simply pull a child out of school or deny critical health care to a family member because the monthly budget is tight. You are forced to pay, directly eroding your remaining disposable income. To bridge this structural gap, households are turning to a temporary fix with a very dangerous long tail: the credit trap. A generation ago, our parents waited weeks, filed mountains of paperwork, and faced such strict scrutiny just to secure a basic loan. Today, a modern consumer can have retail credit approved in a matter of minutes through a smartphone app. But notice the hidden shift. Borrowing has structurally moved away from building long-term wealth, like purchasing a home or investing in a business. Instead, it is increasingly used to finance routine short-term consumption, unexpected medical emergencies, and school admissions. The result? Future household income is systematically chained to high-interest EMIs before it is even earned. The definitive proof of this entire paradox is clearly visible in our consumer data. When you look closely at the evidence, you see a tale of 2 distinct retail markets. Premium, high-end segments, luxury cars, premium real estate, and high-end electronics are witnessing explosive, record-breaking growth. Meanwhile, mass-market consumer goods, entry-level two-wheelers, and basic retail items are experiencing sluggish, flat volumes. The data confirms exactly what the dining tables are feeling. Aggregate spending is high, but it is concentrated in fewer, wealthier hands. This brings us to the real takeaway. Skyscrapers, digital transaction milestones, and record stock market peaks are phenomenal macro indicators, but they are not the ultimate finish line. The true metric of a successful, sustainable economy is whether that national growth successfully converts into stable, stress-free purchasing power at the ordinary dining table. Until that structural alignment happens for the middle class, the chocolate bar stays on the supermarket shelf. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us at The True Analyst. If you found this data-driven breakdown insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to understand the mechanics of our changing economy. Keep asking questions and always look closely at the structural evidence. We will see you in the next episode.